Welcome to Jennifer with Coffee, a mindset podcast for people who are looking for real change. I'm Jennifer Lauer, writer, yogi, and fitness fanatic. Lately, I've been having lots of coffee meetups, long, honest conversations that delve into mindset, identity, choices, and habits that shape our lives. I kept thinking how I wanted to share these conversations, so here we are. Each episode moves in 3 beats: an inspirational story, an interview with thinkers, builders, athletes, and artists, people who want to share their own transformations. And we'll end with a brief meditation to practice calming the nervous system. If you've been connecting with the stories and conversations here, I've also written some fiction that explore emotional spaces. One is an AI dystopia, and the others are part of a paranormal mystery series. So if you're ever curious, you can find them on my website, jenniferleelauer.com. After a conversation with a friend about how much Oprah inspired her career, I got to thinking about how she also shaped mine, and perhaps many thousands of others. Growing up, I was a latchkey kid, watching Oprah every day as a way to connect with the grown-up world, as a way to learn. Oprah felt safe. And although I'm still in the beginnings of this podcast, I credit the earnest enthusiasm for people, the patient listening I witnessed from Oprah as an inspiration. She's also a voracious reader, as I am, and so maybe there's even a seed there in my fiction writing too. All this to say that we're all an amalgam of the people in our lives, the stories and the influences. I'm so grateful to all that I learned and felt watching Oprah, and I still do. The echoes of her influence will be felt well beyond her time in media. And although she might not have had biological children, I kind of think she might be the second mother of an entire generation of children who didn't have someone with the emotional curiosity and the intellectual depth that Oprah does. So, thank you, Oprah. Stephanie Boxerbaum is an attorney and entrepreneur passionate about giving today's professionals the tools to navigate modern life and connect more deeply with themselves and others. Her mindfulness and meditation offerings have been met with high regard. While building a successful career as a managing partner and founder of Box Counsel, Stephanie was drawn to mindfulness and well-being, a natural evolution rooted in her work as an attorney, where she often serves not just as a legal advisor, but as someone her clients can trust to help them feel supported. As she hosts conversations around well-being, she notices one theme surface again and again: how to manage stress and overwhelm. That recognition led her to deepen her knowledge through accredited courses and certifications. Stephanie is also the founder of High Vibe Secret Society, a lifestyle brand built on elevating life through conversations with friends. Through content, events, and products, she's creating a global community that celebrates women and the power of female friendship. At the heart of Stephanie's approach is a compassionate lens that encourages people to explore what works best for them. Rather than claiming to have all the answers, she fosters community and openness, meeting people where they are. Welcome to Jennifer with Coffee. Today's guest is Stephanie Boxerbaum.
Thank you for having me.
Let's get into it. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what brought you to the work you do now.
Sure. So I'm an entertainment attorney and I have my own law practice, and our focus is on digital talent. And really what brought me to it is I was at a company where, digital talent stuff started happening, and I just saw this need for talent to have their own representation and someone that can be looking out for them, someone that can be advocating for them. And so our team is really focused on that and helping navigate any type of transactional entertainment work that they have.
What's an example of transactional entertainment?
Yeah, that's a good question. So as an example, we have clients where they are working with a big brand on an endorsement deal where they're now going to represent the brand. They have to do content, they have to go to events, they have to do all types of things. And then they're presented with an agreement. So our job is to review it, make sure they're protected, they have everything that they're supposed to be doing, there's no surprises, which there always are. We work with a lot of teams, managers, agents, and so everyone works together to make sure that the clients are really well protected.
I love this. It's so interesting. The entertainment industry is changing so much, and there are all these little niches cropping up. I feel like that's a really thoughtful thing for you to zero in on. I'm really curious about that time in people's lives where they transition from one version of themselves and blossom into the next version. Is there a time in your life where you became the next version of yourself?
Sure. I mean, I think there's actually two times that come to mind. So the first was when I was pregnant with our second child, and that's when I decided to start my own business. Have my own law firm, but also started this lifestyle brand called High Vibe Secret Society. And it was a time when, I think a lot of us are used to, you have a job, you work for somebody, that's kind of the thing. And I always knew that I wanted my own business, but the question was when I would do that. It was a very intriguing decision to do it when I was, 6 months pregnant, and I had a very challenging pregnancy with our second daughter, but I just felt very clear on the mission. I felt like this area of entertainment, like these clients needed protection. And I also felt very clear that women and friendship really matters. Like I wanted to really build something in and around that. I think it was a time when you have to kind of take the leap, right? When you're starting your own business to kind of say, okay, I'm going to figure this out, So I would say that's one time. And then the other is when I decided to do this 2-year meditation teacher training. And I had done a 6-week meditation teacher training and that I'd felt kind of very called to do, but I didn't even want to call myself a meditation teacher, but I knew I had to take this course. But in the midst of this, during COVID also, sort of this similar time where I was taking a lot of mindfulness classes, I was working with a meditation teacher. I put this group together, and it was called our Self-Compassion Meditation Group, which during that time, everybody needed a lot of that. We all had kind of our things we were working on, and my thing I was working on was I'm always trying to figure things out, always. Like I'm figuring out the next step for the business. I'm figuring out next steps for whatever's happening. And she said to me, it's fine to always want to figure things out, but if you are always doing that, then there's an inherent dissatisfaction with the present moment.
Ooh.
And I thought, like, no, wait a minute. No, I'm a businesswoman. I own my own business. I'm building these two things. Obviously, I have to figure things out. And she said, sure, but it's constant. It's like incessant. It's day and night. Constant figuring things out. What's the next step? What's the next thing? When she said that, it just really struck me as a moment to consider, well, maybe I can just work on the present moment and still figure things out, but maybe look at that. And so it really set this trajectory into motion for me. And my focus now really with teaching mindfulness and meditation is working with people like me that don't want to slow down, that are in a hurry, that are ambitious, that are undriven, they're all these things, and offering the reassurance from a person who still doesn't want to slow down, right? That these are practices to help your ambition. It's not going to impair it. That's really where I would say those two moments are kind of the ones that stick out with that question,
Wow. I definitely see how they go hand in hand, though. Back to the first one, where you're pregnant with a second child and you've been feeling like you want to start this new business. What was it? You said you're standing on the edge of doing it, right?
Yeah.
What made you step off the ledge and leap? Can you remember? Was there like a conversation or an inspiration that caused you to actually take that step? Because I think a lot of people stand behind the line and they just don't want to put that foot over the line.
Yeah, it's a really good question. I just was so clear that it had to happen. It was like there was no going back. And both of my parents, full disclosure, have their own businesses. I grew up in that environment of every day is a new day, and I knew I wanted to do it. I knew that was the plan. So I think for someone where you've never thought about having your own business and now you just like want to, kind of even a mindfulness lens is really asking the question of like, what do I need? What do I really need? Addressing it, is it like, well, I need support with my fear, or I need some business support. I need to read some business books and do a budget, or it's like, what do I really need? And getting at the heart of, if you want to do it, why are you not doing it?
Right.
And how you're relating to that. And I don't think at the time I was meditating and doing yoga, but not with the skill set set that I have now. But I think that the present moment shows you a lot. It really does. I mean, where I was working at the time, what was happening, like if I could go back and use the skill set I have now for all of that, it's very obvious. Like, oh, totally go do the thing.
Yeah.
You know, there's always hindsight and all of that stuff. But I really, truly, for anyone who's listening that wants to start their own business and is, I'm just scared, that's all part of it. And I think when we can embrace that and know that that's all part of it, and you can resource yourself in these other ways, it's like you can give yourself the support to do it, you know?
That's really good advice, that you're going to be scared. I think
Yes.
people think people that make their own destiny, entrepreneurs, I mean, you had your parents to give you that role model. It looks like something only special people can do because it's way too scary for me. But actually, it's not special. It's just that they're scared and they do the step.
Right.
I love what you said about how you wish you could go back and be in that present mindful state while you were making the decision. So I have a question about, what did you do practically? Was there one act that you made? Did you look up a name for your company? Did you start with a first client? Or what was the first practical step that you made?
You know, it's very interesting you're asking me that, because I can say that I could have been more practical, probably, right? Like I didn't start and have 25 clients at the ready. There's a lot of people that's how they go about it. I've always been a business development type attorney. So I knew, I'm like, I'll figure out how to get the business. And I had some clients that I thought, let's try. I also was very clear that I didn't want to have our baby and then immediately not have time to be with the baby, you know? So it was like I had a few clients that I kept going. I had my baby, but there was a client of mine that I had met, a potential client actually. And he said to me, when can you start? And I was like, well, I could start now. And he actually was like, you're going to have a baby in like 4 seconds. Why don't you just tell me when? I was like, May? Like just depending, And he goes, okay, I'll call you in May. And he did. And I started with him. And that was a very big, like foundational client that I'm very grateful to, just starting that. And then I just built it from there. And I think the other part of it is that if you are someone that is not necessarily like operationally minded, that there are a lot of amazing resources out there to help support what you need as a business operator. I'd always been, prior to starting my firm, I'd always worked in kind of startup, emerging company environments. So I was always in environments where we had to figure things out along the way. That's the other part, is to expect you're going to have to figure things out along the way. And there are a lot of resources out there to do that. And it shouldn't stop you.
In your first, say, year of business, can you think of a time where there was an obstacle that you had to overcome that you completely didn't expect, that you learned a lesson that you could apply to your business as you moved forward?
Oh, for sure. It was like a good thing that was happening, but sometimes good things in businesses teach you lessons, where I had a lot of business. And so that part of it, of like resourcing the business and how to make it where I'm not working 10 billion hours and the business is still coming in, and what do I do? That's what you want, of course. And it was like, okay, wait, so what's the best plan now? How do I resource this? Getting an assistant and hiring another lawyer, or is it just a paralegal? Like all those things. Like I think in the beginning, you're so focused on getting business in the door that you're like, I'm just going to do all of it. Like I'll do all of it. And that's what it's going to be. And then you have to continue to grow and realize, okay, yes, like this is where I need some help. I think every business owner is in that boat of where you're constantly looking at, if you're growing and scaling your business, what's going to be helpful,
Yeah. It's a little nerve-wracking. Can I scale?
Yeah, sure.
At the speed that it's happening to me, kind
Sure.
of thing. Let's go to your second version, into the mindfulness. I love what you said about how you are trying to help women that are just like you, very business savvy, want to have big dreams, big goals, and accomplish big things in the world, and still remain grounded, mindful, essentially have a meaningful life and a big life. What are some things that you could recommend to, let's say, specific to women in business, someone who is creating their own brand, say, what's something they could do to stay in the present while creating this new thing?
Sure. The first thing I think about presence is just have a day where you notice if you're being present or not. Like, are you listening to the person who's talking to you? Are you thinking two steps ahead of what's happening at 5 o'clock today when it's only 1 o'clock, right? Like, just to check in. Like, what's your presence meter? Like, where are we at? That's kind of the first step, because I don't think we always know whether we're present or not, because we're used to just running sometimes, right? Like, a friend of mine saw this on Instagram. Somebody said, like, there's not a tiger chasing you, like something like that, And if we live in a time, I mean, this is the stuff people always say where it's like, oh, how are you? I'm really busy. And that's the answer to everything. It's like, I'm really busy. Oh, okay. And like, you just kind of move on, right? And that's fine. Like, that's, again, I mean, I have so many people that I did a video about how people were like, I just don't have time to meditate. I don't have any time. I don't have any interest. I don't, and that's fine. My biggest thing for anyone is you can start with mindful moments. You don't have to suddenly meditate for 30 minutes a day. You can just drive in your car and don't have any music on and don't be on a phone call and see how that feels. Does it feel boring? Does it feel still boring? Whatever it is, for the longest time, like the subtlety of what that is, I didn't really see the point, to be honest. I was like, there are these mindfulness classes you take where, have you ever done the raisin exercise?
No.
So you get a raisin, you are looking at the raisin in your hand and you're feeling the texture, and then it's like you put the raisin in your mouth and then you're chewing the raisin slowly and you're thinking about like, how did the raisin like go from the farm to the store, to all of these steps. I genuinely at the time was like, this is ridiculous and so painful. Like, just chew the raisin and like be done with it, But now, I recognize it's like, it's so important to practice a steadiness of being. And that's what you're doing in the beginning of learning how to be more mindful. Can you eat the raisin slowly and just do that without all the thinking and all the, this is annoying. And like, that's what you start to notice. That's the beginning. When I did my first silent retreat, the first 3 days, I was obsessed with the schedule. What time this was happening, what time the next thing was happening. And it's like, because the more you quiet the mind, that's what my day is like all the time with work and family. What time is this? Who's going here? I need to be here. So now I'm in an environment where I'm quieting my mind. And that's getting louder because that's what's on in my head all the time. We practice to allow ourselves to have a sense of calm right here, right now, with nothing going on. When you have nothing going on and your mind is so loud and so busy, it's like we want to resource ourselves to find that calm. So then when we're in our life and it's so loud and so busy, we have something that we can kind of go, oh yeah, but wait, I felt the same feeling when I was just sitting in the chair with my eyes closed. I'm going to try to bring that up.
Very well said. So I will recap for everyone that 3 brilliant tips, which are check your presence meter. I love that. I haven't heard that term before. Check your presence meter. Sit in your car without music, a podcast, a book, a phone call. Just be in the silence of one car ride, one way, one child drop off to a sport, one.
Totally.
That's so good. And see what comes up. And then the raisin experiment. See if you can have a peaceful moment with a raisin. I love that your reaction was just like, let's just eat this and get it over with.
Yeah. I mean, listen, we have at our house, we have this rule, I'll say rule, sort of half rule, where it's like when we're eating, we're eating, and when we're playing. It's the same idea of where the focus can be. And mindful eating is a big part of that, right? Like, are you eating lunch and on your laptop and working? And it's like a lot of ands, right? And so when we're practicing mindfulness, it's just the one thing. Like, we're just doing this right now. And I'm not perfect at it on any level. I'm sharing. And this is why, like, I love the community building aspect of it, because different things work for different people. Self-compassion is so important in all of it. Every meditation is different. Every day is different. And so, you have to kind of experiment with what like will work for you,
Yeah. And I think even if you do some of those practices, it's always such a good reminder. I'm really big on reminders. I think as humans, we get really caught up when we're not being mindful and present. I love what you say to your family about eating when you're eating and playing when you're playing. I'm so going to steal that and use that. It's a good one.
Yeah.
So do you have any advice for someone who's interested in mindfulness and meditation. What was your program like?
Sure. So the form, I guess, of meditation that I practice is insight meditation. Teachers like Jack Kornfield and Tara Brach and Sharon Salzberg. Tara and Jack have a 2-year meditation teacher training. I think the next one actually starts at the top of next year, maybe. I think they're like starting to talk about it. And I thought it was just phenomenal. I really do. I mean, I think it gives you a really good foundation. They are very much really about you finding your own voice, which really matters to me. At the time, I didn't realize how important that part was. I've taken other courses where sort of like not about that. Then I did Kristen Neff's self-compassion teacher training because that area is critical to people's psyche and everything else. I also did the Unplug teacher meditation, teacher certification. So that's another one you can look into. But I think you have to find kind of what works for you.
Yeah. Well, thank you for those resources if you're interested. Let's talk about your card deck, your High Vibe card deck. Tell me about that.
Okay. This brand, High Vibe Secret Society, is around friendship. I mean, truly. When I started it, and my very dear best friend Lorna, how it got started, we were just trying to find a time to get together, which I think all women understand I'm just trying to find a time to see my friends. When can I do that? And so we picked this Friday, and I was like, it's going to be our High Vibe Secret Society meeting, and that's what I called it. And it really was like this jumping off point of creating this entire brand around women, around friendship, around conversation. And we're starting to do live events now. You can find out about that on the website. And the card deck, it's called High Vibe Mornings because I really think the morning is so important to our day. And not like a morning routine kind of a way. I just mean like, how do you talk to yourself in the morning? This was started because my husband, this is kind of funny, but I had this vision, and I don't usually say like I had a vision, but I actually had a vision of putting these cards in our bathroom. Like, I don't know why, like on the counter. And I know that that's like a thing, but in my head, I was like, I'm gonna start making these cards. So I would cut out squares of paper and I would write things on them and I would put them in our bathroom for like weeks upon weeks. And then I just decided, I was like, you know what, I'm going to do a card deck that is about this. And so I designed the deck, and it's basically, there's 4 different like categories of how the cards are working. And there's like one each week. So you could kind of pick the theme, or you could change the theme every single day. But I'm really excited about those. So those will be on the website soon.
Oh, cool. And you said you also have charms that you're...
Oh, yes. And that's another thing. I was really into crystals. I kind of still am, but not like as much. But I met this like woman on a flight, and she did this card reading, like one of those stories, she's like, if you ever work with crystals, like you should get into that. And so at our wedding, we had our table names were like crystal names. We gave out rose quartz. Like, I've always just like been into that, So basically our coordinator actually at my law practice was making these bag charms for her bag. She's like, you should do a high vibe charm. And I'm like, we should do a high vibe charm. And so she's been really instrumental in all of that, of like helping kind of think through that. And I've thought through the phrases. And so the idea is to kind of do them like per season. And we have them at the events sometimes. And even just carrying it in my bag, like just that reminder. Like, I think for women, it's just really helpful to have a touch point during your day. And so, when we were at one of the events and people were picking their high vibe word, right? Whether it's abundance or grateful, or they did their name or whatever it is, to just remind you of that high vibe space for yourself. Like whatever we can do to keep that center point, knowing that the external world is like yanking you all around. I think anything that can help remind you of that, of where you want to be living in yourself and life is a helpful thing. That's kind of what those products orient around,
I love this. I am a total crystal girl. I carry them in my purse as well. So I love the idea of having a purse charm. Is there anything you'd like to share that we didn't get to today?
Just to remind people of their enoughness. I think that that's the main point. Like, you can be entrepreneurial and you can thrive in your career and all the things in life, and all of that's amazing and wonderful, and remind yourself day in and day out that you're enough as is. It's something I say in every meditation. I always say, and always remember, you're enough as is. I think people get very focused on an end goal sometimes. And so inside of that, their enoughness factor like flies out the window. And a lot of times people will say, well, if I think I'm enough, that's being complacent, or that means I'm not trying. And sort of the mindfulness, self-compassionate lens on that. Think about how you feel though when you are in this like not enoughness place all the time, because you're not like where you quote unquote need to be. So the idea isn't that if you think you're enough, that means you're not trying. You are trying, and you can be enough at the same time. It's like, why do we need to be suffering through our ambition is sort of a helpful thing to think about it. So that would be the main thing I would tell everyone.
That is a great question to ask. Why are we suffering for our ambition? Yeah, that's really good advice. Okay. So if someone would like to learn more about High Vibe Society cards and charms and would like to be in contact with you and all of the work that you do, where is a good place for them to find it?
Yeah, sure. So on my personal website, just stephanieboxerbaum.com, that's kind of the center pull of it all, I guess, if you will, that will direct you to High Vibe Secret Society, which does have its own website too. So you can go to highvibesecretsociety.com. But on the website, for me, you can see my meditations on Insight Timer, see the types of workshops and classes that I do. And I love when people reach out. So feel free to email me anytime. And of course, Box Counsel is my law practice. So for any of you creators out there that are wanting advice or support, I really love supporting the creator community too.
Awesome. And can you tell us a little bit about your newsletter as well?
Oh, yes. Well, so we do a newsletter every 2 weeks, and it's just a way to share some kind of mindfulness tip. And then because all things high vibe are really about like sharing fun recommendations, so we'll always do kind of a recommendation on, like, I just actually the one that's coming out, whether it's high vibe beauty or high vibe travel, there's some lens on just the lifestyle lanes we're all living in, and sharing kind of some recommendations on those things. And you can subscribe to the newsletter when you come to my website, it'll pop up.
Perfect. Well, we end each episode with this very important question. Stephanie, how do you take your coffee?
Well, the thing is, I don't drink coffee.
That's
I
okay.
cannot, me and coffee are not friends. I don't think I've ever really, I mean, I guess I've had coffee, but I'm just the opposite of, like, I think me and coffee, I'm like, would be on like another planet.
Okay, do you do tea or like a
Yes,
cozy?
so I love a tea. I love
Okay,
a yogi tea for sure. I love the licorice one, all decaf. I guess that's the main point. Is that I need to stay in the very much like decaf lane. I do think the yogi teas are really good.
okay. We've had a lot of tea drinkers. That's really
Oh, nice.
interesting. I'm like,
Yeah.
wait a second. Do I need to calm down my coffee habit? I don't
Maybe,
know
I
if
mean,
it's
listen.
possible.
Yeah, whatever works
Huh.
for people is what I say, You
Yeah,
can't you got to do what works for you.
exactly. Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you, Stephanie. And if you would like to find Stephanie, go to her website, find her on Instagram. Remember to check your presence meter. A request before we take our breaths today. We're putting together our first Q&A episode, and we'd love to hear from you. It could be a question about your life or even something discussed on the podcast. If you feel like sharing, send your questions my way at Jennifer Lee Lauer on Instagram or email at questions@kingsofcontent.com. That's content with a K. So at Jennifer Lee Lauer on Instagram or questions@kingsofcontent.com. I'm really looking forward to hearing from you. Finally, to end each episode, we take 3 intentional breaths together. Let's take 3 breaths of release. Releasing anything that's on your mind, any feelings you might have, just let them go and take a deep breath in and exhale, letting go, releasing. And a second breath in. And exhale, releasing further, letting extra breath out, squeezing every last bit out in this exhale. And a third breath in. And a final release of breath. Releasing any tension you might have. May you continue to release into your day. Thank you for listening to Jennifer with Coffee. Follow us on Instagram at Jennifer with Coffee and on Substack. This has been a Kings of Content production. Music by Oreo CC.